If you live in Britain, you get the sense that our political rulers despise us, and they're essentially characters from Camp of the Saints. And sometimes they're helpful enough to come out and confirm it, such as Sam Rushworth, the Labour MP for Bishop Auckland, coming out and saying that we have illegal migration because we went around the world colonising, we taught them to speak English, and so it's basically our fault.
I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors, and I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
I hate this framing that we're just the passive recipients of a demographic tide that unceasingly drowns our country, because we had the temerity to go around the world abolishing the slave trade, giving them running water, the wheel, and the rule of law. Sorry about that. Sorry that we actually retreated from your countries, let you govern yourselves, and then you were so incapable of doing so, you descended into ethnic infighting, and decided that you would come to my country and live at my expense, because my retarded politicians think giving you money and human rights will turn you into me. No thanks, I would quite like some decolonisation of my own, in my own country. Thank you very much. And it's not like we don't know what these guys want to do when they get here. Again, I broke the story, 2023, that Moroccan and Algerian people smuggling gangs, one of which was a former French colony, by the way, so explain that one, Sam, were filming our women and girls on nights out and using them as marketing material for their smuggling operations to men from the third world to come over to Britain because they think it's an open-air brothel. And word seems to have reached the rest of Africa, because Lee Anderson went to the Calais migrant camps this week, spoke to a few Somalians who are not fleeing a war zone because war has been imposed upon Somalia, but it's because Somalia is a nation ravaged by cousin marriage, dodgy tobacco, communism, Islam, and clannish conflict. Like, Somalia is the way it is because of Somalians. Mogadishu is indistinguishable from a zombie film. So Lee Anderson went over and spoke to these fine young GDP generators in the Calais migrant camps, and they just insisted they need to come to Britain because all they want to do is fuck.
Are you here? But and you're coming to England, yeah?
I need it.
Nearly?
I need it. I need to
you need
be
to
UK.
You need to be in the UK?
Yeah, only interest to fuck.
Are you going to come and enrich our country, by the sounds of it? You're from Somalia? Is that sign language for Somalia? You want to tell your story about why you're here?
Bad,
Yeah?
I'm going to Scotland.
You're going to Scotland?
Yeah.
Okay. Why Scotland?
Yeah, I like it.
You like Scotland?
Edinburgh.
What possible positive contribution could these freaks make? Our politicians seem to think that they are the new Britons. As Keir Starmer said, you are the face of modern Britain. That would include these guys. No thank you, we know that they are disproportionately likely to commit violent and sexual crimes, and they're telegraphing their intent before they even get here. So why should we accommodate them? But first, this video is sponsored by Rumble Wallet. Britain is fast becoming the Soviet Union, where everything you say or buy online is being watched for potential wrongthink, and despite the Constitution, my friends across the pond in the United States aren't faring much better either. That's why libertarian nerds invented crypto, so you can have a say over your funds and what you spend them on. After the 2008 financial crash, Bitcoin was designed to be an alternative to banks, so that you couldn't be debanked, have transactions denied, services withheld, or funds put on hold. If you've ever been refused a bank account because you're a politically exposed person, you know how frustrating that is. Which is why the guys at Rumble have developed Rumble Wallet, to simplify your crypto transactions and make sure you remain uncancelable. You can use Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. It connects with MoonPay, which is registered with the Financial Conduct Authority. So you can safely link your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be ready to use it within minutes. And for a limited time, you can start your Rumble wallet with $20 in US stablecoin. You can use that to tip your favorite Rumble creators, like me. Just enter my exclusive promo code Connor20 when you sign up. Rumble ensures we all have a platform to speak about the threats facing our respective countries without the fear of cancellation. They're good guys, and if they weren't doing the right thing, I wouldn't be working with them. So thanks to them for sponsoring this video. Download Rumble Wallet, try it for yourself, and remember to use my code Connor20 for $20 in US stablecoin to tip to your favorite creators. Restrictions apply. There are a limited number of entries available. Terms and conditions also apply. See the description below or visit rumble.com/promo-official-rules for details. And if you want to get all of my content without ads, you can subscribe to my Substack for as little as £5 per month. It's linked down in the description. It's also where I'm posting exclusive essays and updates. Now let's get back to the video. I mean, it's not like they haven't been committing these crimes. by the hundreds. Here was one particularly horrific one the other day. An Eritrean man called Brook Delasanya. He decided to, and I'm sorry for listeners, it's a bad day to have ears. He decided to drag an elderly man behind a hoarding at St. John's Church in Harrow in North London and rape him for 20 minutes after midnight on the 23rd of July 2025. Someone in a neighbouring property saw the assault, phoned the police. He of course denied it, but it was caught on CCTV, so jury at Harrow Crown Court found him guilty after viewing the CCTV of the attack, which also showed that cars on a double-decker London bus passed close by to the scene. He's going to be sentenced in autumn. He had to use an interpreter, which we paid for throughout the proceedings, and he said he'd been trying to help his drunk victim. And then his lawyer, Bibi Ihmuha, said there was no evidence the rape had taken place and suggested that jurors should not have a knee-jerk reaction, other than the fact that it was caught on CCTV and there was an eyewitness. Deport the lawyer as well. And the Home Office know these are the kinds of men coming over to the country, not just because there's an endless amount of video evidence for it, but because they are publishing consent posters and pamphlets about how immigrants should treat women and children in the UK. For example, they have to tell these men that child abuse is a serious crime in the UK. It's against the law. You must never physically hurt a child, shout at or threaten a child, have sex or sexual contact with a child under 16, leave a child alone without an adult, deny a child food, clothes, shelter or care, or cut or harm a girl's genitals. God forbid we discourage them from doing the same to boys, of course. We should ban that as well. Why should we be importing people that we have to explain this to? There's enough child abuse domestically in the UK. I don't think we need to import child abuse from around the world. Understand these people do not think like us. Their base assumption is not that women and children are innocent and have dignity. Their assumption is the most violent, vicious man can take what he wants when he wants. And if you can't defend yourself, well then, by his rights, you deserve to have it done to you. They have a completely warped morality that is non-Christian. So even if you aren't a Christian, your default assumptions come from Christianity. That the same ethic that saved abandoned babies from the rubbish tips and from being buried under brothels in ancient Rome, that has formed our civilization over centuries. It has never touched these corners of the world where we are now sourcing the new Britons from, according to our government. And the government thinks that if you just give them these corporate Memphis graphics and give them a stern lecture on women's rights, that they will become just like us. They've been releasing loads of these in the last few days, and of course they've been rightly mocked. Here's a poster. In the UK, both people must say yes to sex. This is called consent. If you have sex with someone who does not want to, this is called rape, and it's a serious crime. It is still rape if you are married to the person or in a relationship, they agreed once but changed their mind. If you have sex without consent, you could go to prison. This will affect your asylum claim. So this is directly targeted at the asylum seekers that they keep saying it is racist to say they are committing sex crimes. The government is putting out materials to these men to discourage them from sexually assaulting women and children, and at the same time it is insisting it will house them by the thousands next to your village, in military barracks, in hotels, in houses of multiple occupancy in the neighbourhood where your children sleep. They know what they're doing to us. They think we deserve it because of colonialism, apparently. They think that all of the good that the British Empire did for the world should be repaid in kind with murder and rape from the men they know they are importing are likely to do it, and they think a good telling off will stop them from doing that. There's an entire brochure produced for asylum seekers called Consequences of Behaviour, Understanding Behaviours and Expectations in the UK. Let's take a good guide and see if we tick off all the boxes of British values, shall we? Okay, so you're living in the UK. They say you're living in the UK because you're seeking asylum. We understand that coming to a new country can be difficult, and that laws and customs here may be different from your home country. So this begs the question, why are we importing these people in the first place? If they have to have these basic axioms of our way of life explained to them, if we have to go through such great effort, spend a lot of money, and endure a lot of suffering trying to educate them on how we live, because it's such an alien mindset to them, why are we bringing them here in the first place? Why are we allowing them to come here? Why do we not deport them the moment they arrive? Why are we allowing them to come legally through safe and legal routes that are being invented by Shabana Mahmood and Andy Burnham? Why are we subjecting our own population to the crimes that we know are going to happen because the government is discouraging them from doing it? They know the people they're bringing in are violent, They want to impose them upon us anyway. The treachery is unfathomable. Well, it's treachery for the likes of Andy Burnham. For Shabana Mahmood, it's just enriching her in-group. In the UK, there are laws that protect everyone's safety, dignity and rights, except those of the native population. It's important that you understand them, because not following the UK law can have serious consequences. You could get in trouble with the police, lose your asylum support, and it could affect your asylum claim. Oh, of course, yeah, you should understand the law, because otherwise you might not be allowed to live here at our expense forever. Because of course that's the goal. Not keeping us safe, it's ensuring that they can get access to our country and our welfare system with minimal fuss from the population they happen to be committing violent crimes against. They say the booklet will understand what is expected of you when you are living in the UK. These rules and expectations are not just for people seeking asylum, they apply to everyone here. And look at the corporate Memphis graphic. It's a Muslim woman in a hijab watering her windowsill plants with families looking lovingly from either side. And it doesn't seem that any of them are white. Well, perhaps it's a white woman with a black man and then a black guy and his son. So, you know, two very uncommon family arrangements there. And very uncommon to have a Muslim woman in hijab as the asylum seeker as well, given the overwhelming number of people crossing in small boats and being housed in these military barracks are men between the ages of 16 and 60. They got a page on gender equality. They say in the UK, men and women have equal rights. This is an important part of UK culture and is protected by the law. Women can work and earn their own money, study and go to university, travel freely, choose who they marry and not to marry, and make their own decisions about their lives. Again, if you have to put these in a series of bullet points to explain to the men that are coming here, maybe they shouldn't be coming here. Women do not need permission from a husband, father, brother, or any other man to do any of these things, but they do in the Muslim enclaves that you have allowed to be established on our soil, and which Shabana Mahmood supports, because she says that as a Muslim, Islam is the thing that drives her to fulfill all of her obligations in public life. Men and women are treated equally by the law. That's not true. By employers, again, not true. Women are given preferential treatment, but nevertheless. By schools and services like hospitals and the police. It is against the law to treat someone unfairly because of their gender. Unless you're engaging in DEI hiring practices against useless white male pilots in the RAF, the police, or any other domain in public life. What's expected of asylum seekers is everyone in the UK is expected to treat men and women equally. Even if you're a family member, like a husband, father, or brother, you must never stop a woman from working or studying, control what a woman wears or where she goes, stop a woman from seeing friends or family, or make decisions for a woman without her agreement. Treating someone unfairly because of their gender can have serious consequences. If your behaviour is controlling or threatening, it may be treated as domestic abuse, which is a crime. You could get into trouble with the police, lose your accommodation and support, and it could affect your asylum claim. But that's only if, of course, the woman speaks to the police, which in Muslim households she often doesn't without her husband's permission. And of course they won't want to police that because they don't want to disrupt community cohesion or step on the toes of racial sensitivities. So, again, this is about as useless as a balloon dartboard. The page on domestic abuse is bitterly ironic because it says that it includes physical violence, threats, saying you'll hurt someone or make them afraid, control them, their money, where they go, who they see, emotional abuse, criticism, humiliation, making someone feel worthless, or taking away their documents, keeping someone's passport or identity documents, because that's basically the relationship the native population have with the state right now. Because the state are imposing these people upon us, knowing they will do violence against us, and any time we speak up against it, well, we face the threat of a knock on the door and a visit from the police, and a charge under the Malicious Communications or Public Order Act. And then there's a page on sex and consent. In the UK, the law is strict and clear. Both people must agree to sex or sexual contact. This means both people must say yes freely, without threat or pressure. Someone can change their mind at any time. If someone is asleep, drunk, or unable to respond, they cannot consent. Again, if you're having to explain this to the new arrivals, I happen to think that you were inviting unwanted sexual violence upon our population. The government know exactly what they're doing, because this would be redundant if all of the people coming into the country were just like us, if they didn't commit violent crime, if they knew that they were peaceful doctors, lawyers, and engineers, already lovers of British values. If they knew that, they wouldn't need to put out these pamphlets, would they? And then, the funniest one, respect in public. In the UK, people have different beliefs, religions, cultures, relationships, and ways of life. They don't care. They have no theory of mind for that. They see you as a completely separate civilization, they see you as a member of their outgroup, and they see you as a gullible rube to be exploited, and if you give them money, more fool you. They say you must treat others with respect, even if you disagree with their beliefs or how they live, but you're not going to enforce that at all. Because if British values were the basis of British identity, then anyone who violates British values would be on a plane home quickly, and you don't want to do that, do you? What is expected of asylum seekers when you're in public spaces Alone or with friends, you must never make sexual comments to someone, even if you think it's a compliment, whistle or make kissing noises at someone, follow someone or block their path, so stalk them, make rude or offensive gestures, or verbally abuse someone because of their gender, religion, or how they look. And you're not allowed to take unsolicited photographs and videos of people in public. How interesting. It's almost like the government knows they're using that as the marketing material for the small boats, which is setting the expectation of that Somalian chap that women are just waiting to fuck him, which is not the case. And when they rebuke his advances, well, he's going to take it by force, isn't he? And what do the government do? Just tell him no, but let him stay in our country anyway and not deport him? Pretty much. And then there's a handbook on keeping children safe in the UK. It says child abuse is physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, or sexual abuse. Child abuse is never okay, and it's never a child's fault. You can't hit children, you can't leave them alone under 16, you can't leave them alone overnight at least. And then it says that FGM and forced marriage are big problems. Female genital mutilation and forcing a child to marry are serious crimes in the UK. Funny that's not really been a practice even since the medieval era. If you look at Alan McFarlane's work, actually late teens to mid-20s was the average age of marriage in medieval England. A historical abnormality, I know, but it's one of the secrets to our success. So why does this need to be in a pamphlet in modern Britain? Is it because we're importing this practice? Because FGM isn't exactly a pastime of the kingdoms of Wessex and Mercia. As Morgoth decided to satirise, which is basically indistinguishable from reality at this point, the Home Office will be doing pamphlets about not engaging in cannibalism next, won't it? And it's because they're defending it. As Stephen Swinford, the senior political reporter at The Times, says, Lucy Powell, the education secretary, so, the person tasked with educating all of these brand new Brits and their children, told LBC, I think it's pretty straightforward that we should be explaining to people and being clear about the expectations, the rule of law in this country. People coming from other countries do have different cultures, and we have to be absolutely clear with people how much we abide by the rule of law in this country, what the rule of law is about, and if people break those laws, they'll be treated very harshly. They will be deported. No, they won't. They would also have any claim to asylum completely quashed at that point as well. So I think it's right that people understand the expectations and the consequences if they break the law in this country, and she just keeps repeating herself. They do not understand you. They do not have a theory of mind that comprehends the rule of law. They can't rotate shapes in their head. You're dealing with people that have an IQ of about 60, right? Just reciting platitudes to them as if they're just like us will not work. And I don't think we should be importing people we have to explain these concepts to. How about that? We could just save ourselves the headache and all the horrors that you're inflicting on us by not bringing them here. But of course, their worldview doesn't account for that because they believe all human beings are blank slates, and me just drawing that distinction is racist and is the reason they aren't integrating, and I'm actually to blame for why they're committing these crimes in the first place, because they don't feel welcome enough, so they have to go out and rape a child or an elderly homeless man. Because that makes sense. Andy Burnham's defended it as well, as if he couldn't get off to a worse start as Prime Minister.
As a government, we have a very clear principle. If you break UK law, you will be removed from the country. And we have seen that in relation to immigration, where removals are significantly up. I'm currently working to ensure that foreign national offenders who can be removed from the prison system are removed from that system. So it follows that if we're taking this approach, people are made it's made explicitly clear what the UK law is and what the societal norms of the UK are.
Well, here's an idea. You could not let them into the country in the first place and not have to wait until they ruin a child's life or end someone else's to remove them. We could just save ourselves the pain. Totally unfathomable to Penfold here. And Shabana Mahmood is defending housing them near you. So despite the Home Office, her department, putting these pamphlets out, she is saying that we still need to impose the fair share and a fair spread of these foreign predators onto your neighbourhoods. Shabana Mahmood told The Times, you've got to get a fair spread, and what we are doing with the new model of asylum accommodation and the future of asylum accommodation is thinking carefully about how you have a fair spread that doesn't end up being in one community or on one type of community. There's a pattern with all these Labour ministers, because they're crippling midwits and utter ideologues. They get this one phrase lodged in their brain, stuck on repeat, and they just have to recite it over and over. Fair share was the one that Hope Not Hate ally and Home Office Minister Anna Turley kept saying on the ministerial rounds over the last week. And now you've seen the same with Lucy Powell and with Shabana Mahmood. And you're seeing the same with the Greens, by the way, because the Greens' tactic is just to deny that this is happening at all. They've said that these posters feed into right-wing tropes and are dangerous. There's no evidence violence against women and girls is higher among migrants and people seeking asylum than among the general population. 47% of the rapes in London, with one reported every 52 minutes, are committed by a foreign national. That is not even accounting for first-generation immigrants who are naturalised British citizens, or second-generation and third-generation immigrants who repeat the same criminal patterns as their parents. So the majority of sex crimes in London never needed to happen because the men never needed to be here. The Green Party are lying. They are dangerous, delusional ideologues. And the Labour Party are the handmaidens of their preferred policies by just ushering these people into the country and just giving them a brochure on British values and expecting them not to behave as they do in their own countries, as they telegraph their intent while sitting in Calais, and expecting them not to indulge in the very reason they were enticed to come over in the first place by the people smugglers who are filming our wives and daughters, women and children, as if they're just produce sitting on the shelf waiting for them to take. And as the Centre for Migration Control points out, we're paying for all this. We've got 1.3 million migrants on universal credit, new record. ONS data suggests a further 623,000 are claiming non-universal credit benefits, and this is likely an undercount. So we have about 2 million migrants claiming benefits in Britain. This is why the other day Reform UK did a press conference with Robert Jenrick and Richard Tice saying that they're going to ban foreign nationals from claiming benefits. Now Danny Kruger did turn around and say, well, you can just apply for British citizenship and then access the full suite of generous welfare payments in this country. I don't think we should actually be encouraging foreign nationals who want to come over and entitle themselves to my tax money, given I just paid thousands in tax today. I'm still seething about it, right? I don't think we should be devaluing our British citizenship. I don't think we should be giving it out at all, actually. It should be inherited. But I don't think we should be encouraging a gold rush of passports to take benefits at the very time when record numbers of passports are being issued, devaluing British citizenship anyway. So I think there should be a total moratorium on citizenship grants. I think the entire asylum system should be shut down. And I think every single one of these men that have been brought over to our country that are committing these crimes need to be sent back to the backwards third world countries that they came from. And that is the moderate solution. Because the more their removal is deferred, the more their deterrence is put off. We will not be so kind as to consider just removing you. Because this has gotten really intolerable. And I'll be careful what I say, because I live in Britain, and I'm on YouTube, for as long as I'm not kicked off. People are getting really angry. And if you don't solve the problem, people will turn to violence, especially when you impose this upon their neighbourhoods. But if you take away their benefits, doesn't mean they'll go away automatically. You need a mass deportation operation, the type that's been outlined by Restore Britain's mass deportation document, because migrants are just setting up shantytowns all across Britain now. They're living in underpasses, parks, and these are mainly Deliveroo and Just Eat drivers. You know, setting up tents, using electric bikes, even rental line bikes, and just living in some of the most foot-trafficked areas of London, like Tottenham Court Road near Oxford Street. Why are we dealing with this shitification? What about this UK aesthetic is desirable to our politicians, other than the fact that it's just generating raw GDP by having more bodies in the country, more cash exchanging hands, and because it fulfills their religious obligation to achieve integration for every black and brown person around the globe who they believe are only not like us because of the original sin of colonialism, as Sam, the Labour MP, said at the start. And this is going to go on for 10 years, by the way. Rupert Lowe has uncovered. And this is one of the asylum contracts in Wales, but the same thing is happening in Bicester. I was told off for mispronouncing it as Bichester, the area in Oxford, where they're imposing 1,250 foreign men on a village of 400. That's going to go on for 10 years. Rupert Lowe's discovered this contract saying that asylum accommodation provision to meet the varied needs of asylum seekers and to support community integration. So they want them embedded in your communities, right? Management to ensure safe, suitable and responsive living environment for asylum seekers. Transport for them, 24/7, 365 transport service that's timely with professional drivers. Safety and security for the migrants. Not for you, of course, because they know these are criminals and they're letting them come and go from the site as they please. With CCTV so they can, watch all the crimes happen while doing absolutely nothing to prevent them. And the contract date ends on the 31st of August, 2036, with a possible extension to 2039. I don't think any of them should be here already. I don't think they should be here for another decade. I think every single one of them needs clearing out. And I think all of the treacherous politicians that know exactly what they're doing to us by bringing them here in the first place need clearing out too.